It's my honor and privilege to welcome Ryan Mathew. I'm the director at Barclays Corporate and Investment Bank, vice president managing 3 functional groups: market data management, trade and substantiation, flow and trade substantiation. I would request Ryan to throw some more light on some of these terms that sounds Greek and Latin for some of us. Having worked with large organizations through your career, we understand that you would have had a wonderful journey with a lot of learnings. So we look forward to hear from you and take inspiration. Once again, let's give Mr. Ryan a warm welcome to meet our Reflections family. Reflections is an IT company with a large presence in Australia, India, US, Middle East, and Europe. We have a deep-rooted culture and is dedicated to providing value-added services to our customers. A business that carved out a place for itself among industry titans. We have advanced greatly under the capable leadership of our beloved CEO, Deepa Sarojimam. And I'm sure all of us at Reflections do exhibit the values that she also upholds. Ryan, over to you.
Again, and whilst that's being set up, firstly, I just want to say a huge thank you for allowing me to come and speak to you all. Thank you for Mary and Deepa for giving me the honour and privilege, which it's all mine. What I'm going to speak to today is my journey. And I think the most important thing to realise from everyone here is that you have your own journeys. So where I got to where I am, it's just from my experience. And I really hope that some of the words and some of the stories I'm going to sort of share resonates with some of you, either what you've been through in the past, what you're going through now, or where you want to go in the future. It's not from the internet. It's not from a book. These are all my personal experiences and my personal advice. That's all it is. Speaking of personal, so on a personal front, I live in London. I've been born and brought up in London. I'm married and I have 2 children, one 11, one 3, big age gap there. The 11-year-old is very good, very well behaved, respects authority, understands rules. The 3-year-old is the exact opposite. He's a rebel without a cause. He talks back, even though he only knows 20 words, and he's cheeky, everything. So I'd like to say that the good boy is a lot like myself, and the naughty boy is a little bit like my wife, but I'm not going to, I mean, I can say that now because she's not here. She's not going to walk in. But I just want to let you know that obviously, like, we all have families. We all have, lives and things going outside of work. That's the most important thing here. So never make sure that, your family life suffers as a result of your career. Your career is super important, but your family life is even more so. And we've all got families there. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay, just hopefully you can see that.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Again, this is just something I mocked up, so apologies if any format or anything is wrong. So I'm just going to go through briefly my career to date, and this is just to give you a bit of context to understand where I'm coming from my experiences. And then from my career, the last 20 years, the top 5 things that I think I found or done extremely valuable. The third and fourth things are sort of interlinked, and it's the mindset, which I think is paramount to anyone's career and success. And a little bit more about how to execute, not just how to think, but how to execute. And then obviously things don't always go according to plan. There are challenges that everyone faces as well. So I'm going to share a few of my own challenges and how I overcame them as well. And then I'll put some time at the end for any questions or things that I may have missed, of course, at the end. So just kicking off, this is my career, 20 years is 3 companies. I graduated in economics from South Bank University in London, and I was fortunate enough to get onto the graduate program at Shell. Now, this is my first taste into the working world. Some of you this may be your first role that you're doing at the moment. And you're probably experiencing the same things I did, earning money for the first time, managing your budget, working with people of different ages, learning, and just having a real structure to your day and life. This is where I learned it at Shell. I was there for 5 years. From there, I went to Citigroup, where Citigroup started up a commodities business. What's commodities? It's oil, gas, power, coal, gold, silver. Banks trade this stuff. And Citigroup were poaching different people in the market to come and join their startup. So from this experience, I got to see a business start up. I was first of 3 in the team. That grew to 40 in the operations business. It was incredible to see how a business can grow from the bottom up. And then from there, I was fortunate to move to where I am now. The Barclays Investment Bank is the top 5 biggest banks in Europe. The investment bank has presence in New York, London, Singapore, and of course, India. We're in Pune, and it has a fantastic campus there. So from here, I actually moved within commodities as well. And whereas the Citigroup, I saw the business start up, in Barclays, they actually sold the business. So I saw the business unwind from here. And then from there, I made my various career changes internally. So yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about my career here because I don't think that's important, but I just want to give you some context as to where I'm coming from and what I've done. And that may explain some of my views. Right, the top 5 things that I've learnt from my 20 years. I'll start with goals and clarity. Now, we all set goals, some personal, some career, some academic, whatever. But the key thing here is clarity. Now, what is clarity? I can say that there's been no manager in my career that I've blindsided. What does that mean? That means I've never come to them and said, I'm leaving. Surprise, I hate this place. Surprise, I don't want to do this anymore. My manager has always acknowledged and been completely open with my goals. So when I'm in the team, it's important that you let your management know what you want to do and how you're tracking against it. Why? Because your manager will have exposure to the bigger picture. And the more you communicate that with your manager, the more that your manager can help you get to those places. So if you want a promotion within 2 years, fine. How can you get there? The goal is not, I want to be promoted in 2 years. That's the big goal. Then you break it down to smaller goals. Your manager will say, well, you need exposure to that project, or you need exposure to that person. So your short-term goal is, in the next 6 months, I want to get exposure to that MD. Tick. That project, tick. Every 6 months, you've broken it up into smaller, achievable goals. You need to make the goals achievable to then reach that end goal. And every manager I sat with, we had one-to-ones, we had year ends, we had everything. There was nothing that I wasn't 100% clear about. There were some times when I didn't actually want to be promoted in that team. And I said, I actually want to move to that area, but I'll give 110%. But in the long term, that's where I want to go. That helped. It helped him, it helped me. And my manager was able to influence my career path. So I'll say, be open with your goals. You don't have to keep your goals sort of close guarded to yourself and then one day spring it on your management. It's okay to be open with it because it can actually help you and you can get really good advice off the back of it as well. Second thing, internal support network. Getting your name out there is really important, no matter what size of the company. Not just being siloed in what you do, but making those connections in other areas, even if it has nothing to do with you. That's how you learn. Because when you come out of university, like I did with an economics degree, what does that mean? You've come out with an economics degree. You don't go in directly to an economics job. Under economics, I did management, I did accounting, I did law. So I didn't know much about the working world. But the way I learned is once I got into the working world, I made sure that I had a good internal support network. That means people at my level who are willing to help me and share knowledge. This also includes mentors. Now, mentors are people who are, I would say, level above or 2 levels above, who you look to for inspiration and you admire their style, their leadership, their thoughts, and try and get a mentor, I would say. If it's not internal, external, fine. But get someone who you look to as an inspirational character and can constantly learn off life experience. So I did this. I built my internal network, and then everywhere I've gone, I've had a mentor. And the mentor has been at least 1 to 2 levels above me. Attitude to change. Now, The thing I can say about change is that it's consistent. Life changes. There's nothing that stays the same. I've worked at Barclays now since 2011. It feels like I've been there for 20 years alone as a company. Why? Because I've experienced so many changes, whether it's a change in CEO, whether it's a change in the markets as well. I was at Barclays when we had the financial crisis. I was in Canary Wharf, London's finance district, when Lehman Brothers went into administration, and the reporters were there, and I was standing. My colleagues were there as well, and my friends were in Lehman Brothers at the time. Brexit, just Britain coming out of the European Union. It's not just a trade problem. It has relationship problems everywhere, and banking in particular. So you have to learn to be dynamic in what you do. Change always happens. And I've managed many people over the time. There are basically two types of people. There are those who are adverse to change and will just create hurdles, will just create difficulty, will just create negativity. And there are those who roll with change, who just say, okay, if that's where we're going now, that's where we're going now. See, I can't change Brexit, but the pain we had to all go through to facilitate that at Barclays was immense, but we made it happen because we were all open to change. I'm going to go to think big. Now, this is a really obvious one, think big. This is not just one day I want to be whatever, an MD. This is more about the mentality, about thinking beyond your silo. So even at Reflections, you all probably have your separate areas and your separate departments. But sometimes you'll receive initiatives that you may not probably understand. Why are we doing this? Why do we have to do that? That's not my responsibility, it's their responsibility. Try and think outside of the silo and think that the directive coming your way has probably come from a level that you probably do not have exposure to. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday we had quite a big debate with our MD because he wants to collapse all our mailboxes. We run a global team. I've got teams in New York, London, Pune, Singapore. We have different mailboxes. We service different businesses. We service different asset classes. We have 50 mailboxes. He wants to bring them all down to one per region, which you mention this to people and it scares them immensely. It can't be done. And everyone resisted and everyone challenged, and it's right to challenge. You should definitely challenge. But ultimately, that directive has come, once I understood more, it's come from the head of operations for Barclays, who has had a conversation with the head of trading for Barclays, who wants to simplify his support model. So whether we resist and we push back or we fight, ultimately, rolling with change and thinking beyond actually can benefit your career. And when you actually sit back, and when I actually sat back and thought about it, actually simplifying the support model from a mailbox perspective, it's actually quite a good idea. It's actually a very good idea. So that actually, once people got that mindset, then everyone suddenly got on board. But think beyond the silo. And lastly, your brand. Your brand is essentially your reputation. Your reputation precedes you. When someone says your name, you want the response or the sentiment to be positive. You don't want people to roll their eyes when your name is mentioned. And how does that happen? It happens from your reputation, and your reputation feeds into your brand. So what is your brand? I've created my brand as someone who is collaborative, approachable, and willing to share and empower. So when people say the words RYAN Matthews, would you like him to be on this project? Would you like him to take the lead on that? I would like that response to be, yes, of course, that sounds like a good idea, not him. And I've seen it happen so many times. I have so many conversations with so many people, and we're constantly having to bring people into different areas. And you mention someone's name and people go, no, not him, not her. And sometimes even I think, oh, why not? And then you just think, no, it's the reputation, it's their brand. They've come across in some shape or form as closed-minded or negative or too political. for example. So always be wary of the brand that you are building for yourself and amongst your peers. It's happening without you even noticing. And some of you are doing it and it's actually benefiting you. You're probably doing the right thing all the time, and that's fantastic. But always be aware of the perception that you come across, because that feeds into your reputation, which can feed into your career as well. So I'll wrap it up there. This is just the 5 things that I thought really helped me, and I've got personal examples of all of these things that have helped me get to where I've got to. So I just wanted to share that as well. Mindset and how to do it. Right, so what is the mindset? This is probably the most important thing. There's no point in having a fantastic degree, coming from a fantastic school, coming from a very privileged background, having a fantastic network, if you do not have the mindset to execute it. So drive. What am I talking about when I say drive? No one cares about your career as much as you do. Care about your career. It's okay to care about your career. Like I said before on the goals, set goals. It's okay. So you are all, if you can imagine a car, you are all in the driving seat of your career. And in the passenger seats, your manager, your spouse, your children, your mum, your dad, your mentor, but ultimately you're the one driving the car. And where that car goes can be influenced by those in the passenger seat, but you're the one driving it. So make sure that you always remember that you're the one driving your career. A couple of things I've learned is from driving my career is don't chase the money early in your career. When I was working at Shell and I worked in the settlements and contracts area, there were people leaving Shell to do the same job at BP for £10,000 more a year. Now, when you're in your early 20s, £10,000 a year more is material. That's, you know, for a lot of people, that's worth moving for. I resisted doing that because what just happens is you're just moving sideways for more money, but you're not actually growing in your career. Unless you see a career opportunity from moving, that's fine. But a lot of people just they just saw the numbers and they went, I'm out of here. So all of you work for a fantastic company right now. So look at what you can do for your company now. Look at how you can grow your career in your company now. How can you build your internal network now? You're already in a very fantastic and privileged place. So make use of it and don't look at the numbers and then jump ship. Surprise your manager with this, because it's a small world as well. And your internal network becomes your external network. And things like LinkedIn make sure that we're all connected. So always protect your brand. And I'll come to the next bit on how you do that. But also remember to drive your career, but do it in the right way. Drive also comes with driving initiatives, driving projects, driving targets. This is, you can watch others drive it, or you can tag along, or take the lead yourself. So always try to have a drive mentality. You are driving, you're not just driving your career, you're driving what you're doing at work. Drive, drive, drive. Empower. 2 things. Be empowered, and then empower others. So this connects with drive quite well. Sometimes, and I know earlier in my career, I would sit there and probably think about what I think the solution is. But would I say it? Probably not. Would I put my hand up? Probably not. I was quite shy. But feel empowered. If you don't want to do it in a group, fine. Do it through any means that you feel comfortable, to feel empowered, to propose solutions, to challenge, to take the lead, to drive. And then when you get to a place where you feel you've learned all you can learn, you empower others. You bring people up. So how did I move to management? Well, when I became what's called an SME, a subject matter expert, I said to my manager, hey, I know you're hiring a graduate from another institute, and that graduate reporting to me, and I will teach the graduate everything I know to empower this graduate to then become an SME. And you know, there's also a closed-minded mentality. No, I want to keep all the knowledge to myself. No, I don't want. If I share knowledge, then suddenly I become less valuable. No, it's not. That's not the case. From what I've experienced in my career, those who share knowledge and those who are open with their knowledge are the most valued. And those who don't, you know, it feeds into their brand. It feeds into their reputation, like I said. So be empowered and empower others. You empower others means that others basically prop you up. You are elevated by empowering others. That drives your career. And it may not be entirely obvious at this point, but it does happen. It does happen. And people are looking at your behavior and how you're empowering others and sharing knowledge. That's really important. Challenge. It's good to challenge. It's good to challenge, but challenge in the right way. Make it constructive. Make it collaborative. And challenging can just be getting other people's opinions as well. You can word it, you can group it however you want. But challenging shows that you're not just someone who's going to take a procedure guide and just follow it to the word. But that's important, don't get me wrong. But over my career, I've seen things go wrong through various operational processes. And when you speak to the people who maybe were doing it at the time, and I say, like, so why did you do that? They say, the procedures told me to. Or you just ask, like, do you know why you do that? No, the procedure says I have to do it. It's fine to follow a procedure, don't get me wrong. But there's two types of people, and those are those who follow the procedure to the letter, and that's fine, that's okay. But there's others who will do that, but also go, hey guys, do we know why we're doing this? Can this be done better? And it's just that challenge that, you know, staff change, we all change, structures change, teams change, and things need refreshing. It's okay to challenge as long as it's done in the right way and not done in a negative way. So how to? So moving on to how to, again, none of this is at all applicable unless you execute it in the right way. The things I'm showing actually on my screen, I've taken from some of the Barclays mantra that they have. So they've got what's called their values, and every company should be adhering to values. Respect. Make sure you speak to everyone the same. You know, working in banking, you come across people at a certain level, and they will speak to people at another level completely different to how they speak to people at their own level or above. That's just, you know, that feeds into their brand. I'm someone who passionately hates that, and I will speak to a junior analyst in Pune the same way I would speak to an MD in New York. They're the same. I will always take the time to articulate my email in exactly the same way. Never assume, ask the right questions, and treat people with respect. It goes a long way. And it opens up other people to saying more. So, you know, my last manager, he wasn't like this at all, by the way. He would get on a call and he would essentially bully people. He would put words in their mouth. He would talk over them. He would have it as his way or no way. And what that did is it just closed people up. People didn't want to speak. People just thought, if I just stay quiet, then this call will be over and that's fine. What happened is that without taking in the knowledge of these people, you can very much influence the way a project goes, and that may not be the right way. You may not have thought of every single thing. So his brand suffered as a result of that. Whereas the way that I operate my team now is I'm very collaborative. You bring people in, you let people finish speaking, and you don't interrupt. And there's a way to conduct yourself and make it collaborative. And the more views you get and the more you open up people, and that comes back to empower, it's allowing people to open up. Some people are very shy. Some people don't want to put their camera on. Some people don't want to go straight in with a directive, but there's a way that suits them. And it's about empowering people to open their mouths and to become SMEs, to become leaders, empower the next generation of leaders. And how can you do that? You start by opening them up and listening to what they have to say. Integrity. I'm sure I do not have to talk to anyone in this room about integrity. It's just operating which in the right way. Some things you may not actually want to do. The mailbox example, for example. But you know what the right thing to do is. We're all grown up, so we know what right is and we know what wrong is. And just do the right thing. Do whatever the right answer is. Do whatever is best for reflections. Do whatever it takes to make the company a success. It may not be the thing you want to do. It may put you out. It may, but trust me, it all feeds into, you're all part of one machine and you're all part of one team. Stewardship plays in as well. Again, a lot of this is overlapping. Stewardship is how you behave amongst your peers. Someone comes to you and says, hey, have you got time to just talk me through this? You can turn around and say, no, I don't have time. Or can you go and ask that person? Stewardship is going, I would say, a little bit above and beyond to help those who probably need a little bit extra. You know, it's within the Reflections mantra, service beyond contract. It's exactly that. Service beyond contract. You know, the contract says X, Y, and Z. The project's finished. Someone comes back and says, actually, you can either go, sorry, that's not my problem anymore. Or you can say, of course, we're here to help. We're here to help. Again, your brand feeds into your reputation and your brand feeds into the company's brand. You're all ambassadors for your company. Never forget that. The way you conduct yourself, the way you speak, the way you deliver, all feeds into the reputation and brand of Reflections. And then excellence. So yeah, Reflections is an excellence company, but always look at what you're doing and say, am I delivering this with excellence? It could be something as an email, just writing an email to close out a project. Is what I've written excellent? And excellent is obviously very hard to achieve all the time, but that's what we should be striving for. Excellence. Excellence in our delivery, excellence in our communication, excellence in how we treat one another. Operate with excellence continuously. Challenges. Right, everything I've said so far is all fine and dandy, but in life there are challenges. How we overcome them. Right. 3 very simple things. Attitude. Look, I've got a picture of someone running there. You're probably wondering why I've got a picture of someone running there. But when we come across challenges, sometimes we run away from challenges naturally. We just as human beings, we don't want to go there. But that picture is actually meant to symbolize someone running towards a challenge, which is a very strange concept, isn't it? My brother, he was at Goldman Sachs, and he said the mantra there was run towards a challenge, which is a strange thing. If there's a fire, do you run away, which is fine, or do you run towards it with a fire extinguisher? The people who stand out are the ones who run towards challenges. There's a problem, there's a bigger problem, but no one really wants to touch that problem. But if someone steps up, is empowered to step up, is empowered to drive and to solve for that challenge, you may not get always that outcome you want, but at least you put your hand up and you try to deliver. And that's someone who is collaborative, and it plays into stewardship. It plays into your brand. Solution driven. Again, I do not have to talk to you guys about solution driven. You all are solution driven, just basically from what you do. But the point I put this here is that I've come across people who see a challenge and bring negativity to the table. Positivity spreads only so much. Negativity spreads like wildfire. To those people in my career who I've experienced as part of a challenge, I've respected more those who bring the challenge to the front and think about a solution. Or 2 solutions, 3 solutions. 1 may be terrible, 3 may be terrible, but that's the mindset I'm talking about. It's the mindset. It's the positive can-do mindset. Okay, this may cost more money. This may involve having to collaborate with that team over there, but it's a solution. At least it's a solution. And by empowering people to speak, you bring solutions to the table. But think about negativity and think about how fast that spreads. Just keep that in mind whenever you're bringing it forward. But I'm sure you guys are all solution based. So again, I don't want to sort of tell you guys too much because you're probably way more over this. And then of course the obvious one is learn. There's a phrase: there are no mistakes in life, only lessons. So whatever challenges you've had, and I've had many, many, many over the last 20 years, I've probably learned the most from my challenges than things that have gone well, I have to say. So you could be delivering a project and one component has not been thoroughly checked. And that one component is the one card that completely dismantles the whole house of cards. But you know what? That sticks with you. And that makes you meticulous in what you do. That's made me meticulous in what I do. So although I'm at director level, I'm okay to go down to the detail. Why? Because 10 years ago, we had a massive disaster at Citigroup, and now I will always check that one thing. So it makes you better. Don't always see a challenge as something that brings you down. It can be something that actually props you up and builds to your armor, builds to your profile. So a couple of personal challenges that I've had in my life. Okay, so when I was younger, I had a terrible stutter. There were times when I couldn't speak in public. In fact, I would never even speak in public. I used to go to church, and we used to have the Bible, and someone had to go and read the lessons at the church. I wouldn't sleep for 2 to 3 nights leading up to that lesson. I was probably, whatever, 12 years old. I would get so nervous that I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't speak on the phone. For some reason, the stutter would come when I spoke on the phone. I couldn't say certain words. They wouldn't come out of my mouth. And today, here I am talking to all of you. And, you know, that makes me feel super proud, I have to say. So there are challenges that you can overcome. There are challenges that you probably can't, but don't give up. Don't give up. I worked on my stutter. I, sometimes put myself in situations that I felt uncomfortable on purpose so that I would overcome my challenge. I would volunteer for stuff. I hated it, but I did it because I just thought I need to do this for the benefit of myself, and I overcame that. Another challenge is, we all feel the pressure of being compared to our peers, to our cousins, to our family. I'm Malayali myself, so I know all too well the challenges of an incredible population of people we are. My parents came to the country, in the UK, in the 1970s. They didn't have much money in their pocket. We grew up in a bad area, a dangerous area. And because of that, my brother and I went to a bad school. And because of that, we went to a bad high school. And then we didn't get the groundings that others had. That, it can build a complex in yourself. You think, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I can't do it. But again, I'm here today telling you that I'm not here because I came from Oxford University or Cambridge. I'm not here because of my fantastic connections that my dad had to get me jobs here and there and everywhere. I'm not here from any of those credentials. I'm here from something else. And that something else is something that you all have too, as well. So it's very simple. It's all the stuff I've said before. It's hard work. It's spotting opportunities. It's rolling with change. Viewing change as an opportunity and not as a bad thing. Being collaborative, building your brand. These things are free. You don't have to go to university to get a degree in attitude to change or building your brand. These things are all free, and these things helped me get to where I did, not anything else that came from a point of privilege. And your journey is your journey, and the person sitting next to you's journey is different to your journey. So don't always look sideways and say, why am I not like that? It's okay if you want to do that, it's fine, because that drives some people. But your journey is your journey, and you are in that driving seat. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there. I've sort of come to the end of what I want to say. So I will just wrap it up with any questions from yourselves. What is that, 37 minutes? That's not bad. But yeah, I'll stop talking there. I'm sure you guys have had enough from me.
Hi, Ryan. Maybe if I could take the first 1 minute of the questions time, but I'm not going to ask a question to you, Ryan. My name is Deepa, and I'm the CEO of Reflections. First of all, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time with us. I'm so happy you said the things that you said. These are, part of the conversations that we have internally as well. These are the things that Reflections needs at this point to grow. I think if everyone in Reflections, or at least 10%, 20% of the people followed everything that you said today, I think we would be an unstoppable company. Their career growth would be unstoppable. I hope everyone, got that, they were able to digest the things that you said, being in the driver's seat and, driving it, not depending on others, the solution mindset, outcome based, right? Create outcomes, empower people. It's not always about you. You grow when others around you grow. So I think all those things that you said makes so much sense for Reflections at this point. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like I said at the start, the honor and privileges of mine to come and speak to you. Thank you so much. I'm really,
Thank you,
really
Ryan.
honored.
And we'll be in touch. Okay, I'll contact you later.
Thank you.
Maybe over to you for questions.
Yeah. Parvati?
Oh, all right. So Ryan, thank you so much for the great talk, really. Every word that you said and every idea that you communicated with us today, I found myself saying yes. Like it was exactly like Deepa said, what we keep discussing at Reflections internally, almost at every meeting. So about the mindset and the drive, the passion, building a support system for yourself within the company or outside, wherever you can find it, having those spokespeople for yourself, and building and maintaining your brand image, which is so important, being empowered while also empowering others. And honestly, the rest of it too. Like if I keep going on, then I'll have to repeat every single word that you said, which we wouldn't have time for. So I feel that everything that you pointed out today are apt ingredients for what would make a great leader, right? And it's been a true pleasure listening to you today. Truly inspiring and informative. No questions about it. So thank you for that. All right, Reflectors, it's now time for us to get to know more of what Ryan can share with us. So now it's question and answer time. I'm sure everyone is ready with their questions. Those who would like to ask a question may put your names in the chat window below, and I will call on you. In the meanwhile, the first question is from me. So Ryan, what are some of the organizational culture red flags and green flags which you've observed throughout your tenure and experience when it comes to organizations that promote a high performance org culture?
Yes, okay. Really, really good question. Thank you for that. Okay, so I worked for Shell, which is a British-Dutch oil company. I worked for Citi, which is an American investment bank. And I work for Barclays, which is a British institution. So 3 sort of different cultures and mindsets. So the ones that I've seen the most successful are the ones that have adopted what's called a people pillar. So a people pillar is something that we didn't have at Shell, funnily enough. We certainly did not have it at Citigroup, but we've got at Barclays. And the people pillar is basically, it's something that you could say that most people do at the side of their desk, but it's a group of volunteers that essentially drive a people agenda. This means diversity and inclusiveness. It means internal mobility. It means well-being. It means engagement, senior engagement. And it means learning and development, which this is basically. So I can already see you guys have got it, because this is a learning and development exercise. So you already have people as part of your agenda, which is so impressive, so impressive. So I'm actually the global lead for well-being for Barclays. This means it's not a formal job title. It's something that I put my hand up and I've said I would like to be part of making sure that people are looking after themselves, their families, and one another. And I said this at the start, we're human beings first. You know, you're not just an employee. You're also a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife, a mother, or a father. And these all play into who you are. So the red flags, to answer your question, I would say are for those places that don't place any importance on the people agenda. It's the places that say, I don't care, you're going to work this weekend. I don't care, just stay late until it's done. I don't care if you're sick, log in. And I've seen it. And I've seen it happen. I know it's scary, but people do have this attitude and mentality. And the places that I've seen have most of the green flags are the ones that place that importance on their people. As companies make investments. For Citigroup, we bought ships. At Shell, we bought refineries, oil refineries. But the biggest investment a company can make is their people. It's their intellectual property. It's their people. If you don't value and care for your people, they will leave. Because we're now in a time where pre-pandemic, it may have been a certain culture, but post-pandemic, I'm talking to you from my house. After this, I'm going to go to a meeting, something work-related. That's looking after your people. It's saying, hey, you don't have to come into office every single day. You're okay to work from home, whatever, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. So I would say those companies that have the best success are the ones that put the most investment into their biggest investment, which is their people. And the people agenda is top. And it's just a group of people who feel passionate about something. So I felt passionate about well-being. Someone else. There's an East Asian woman. I think she's from Korean descent. She's passionate about diversity and inclusiveness because her thing is, I don't see enough of me at senior level. There are a lot of men. There are a lot of white men. But where are the East Asian women? She put her hand up and she's driving that, and she's getting speakers, and she's getting publicity, and she's getting exposure to those people. There's also African American people. They're not represented well in banking. So there's an African American society, and their job is to empower their African American community, tapping into different parts of talent. But ultimately, it all comes down to people and the importance that we place on our people, because that's the biggest investment. And that's the success versus failure that I've seen. My brother used to work for, Goldman Sachs and everything. There's a certain culture there, certainly in London at that time. I'm not saying globally, but there was a high also turnaround. And there is no answer, but you can make an observation based off that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next question is from Lavanya. Lavanya, would you like to ask your question? Or would you like me to ask it for you? Lavanya? All right, I'll go ahead and ask the question on her behalf. Who or what is your inspiration, and what keeps you motivated?
My inspiration is probably it's probably be very cheesy, but it's actually my dad. He's someone who came to this country with sort of repeating myself here, I know, but with pretty much nothing in his pocket. He was qualified, but at the time in the 70s in the UK, it was difficult for people coming from abroad to enter at a decent level. They had to start from the bottom. So this is someone who had an engineering degree from a top university in Tanzania. And this is someone who came to the UK and worked in KFC. KFC is a fried chicken shop. I don't know if you have it there, but we
have it everywhere.
I actually quite like KFC. He never told me what the secret recipe was, but he worked there for a little while to pay for his masters. So he worked at the night time at KFC, and then he did masters at night time. Then he worked during the day, and then he had 2 little kids, me and my brother. He had to share a room with, I think, 3 to 4 other guys who were in the same situation as him. I think a lot of this would break a lot of people, and I don't think I have that. I'm extremely privileged to actually be second generation. That generation, the people who inspire me are the first generation of Indians who came from India to the UK in the 1970s. That generation, I'm inspired by so much, because what they did to start with laid the foundations for their kids. So
yes,
I can't ever take credit for where I am now, because I only got, I had a roof over my head, I had food, I had good morals and good values. The things I placed most important in this whole topic came from my dad and my mum. It didn't come from Shell. So I saw him work extremely hard, like probably the hardest working guy I've ever seen. But that generation of people laid the foundations. Do you know what another example of that? The first generation, there was a family, and they worked in a pharmacy in Southampton. Southampton is the bottom of England.
Yeah.
Their son is the Prime Minister of Great Britain.
Mhm.
You see what we can achieve when we have the right foundations. And I am not just saying this, but every second generation, Malayali is incredibly successful, whether it's here or America or wherever, or even in India. But the ones who came from abroad had to start again, had to learn the culture. They had to learn the language in some cases. They had to blend in, they had to fit in. I grew up in a house with very Eastern values. But then I'd go out and I'd be amongst Western people. So that was a challenge, but it only benefited me. And then I have a kid now who's 11, and his dad has grown up in this country. So what does that mean for this person? Like, I don't have the same work ethic as my dad. Does that mean that he won't? I don't know. But I do always look to my dad and that whole generation of people who came here with the utmost respect, I would say.
Thank you. The third question is from Anjali CV. How do you balance your personal and professional life?
Good question. Good question. And I think it all comes down to, again, the focus that your company puts on the people agenda. It's hard. It's hard when you have a demanding job. My wife also has a demanding job. She works for Google. So she's working on projects and she's going into office, she's presenting. We're both driving our careers, and we both have 2 kids, and not just 2 kids, 2 kids with 8 years age gap. So they're not like I've put 2 kids with a childminder. One kid needs to go to school and has football practice, and the other kid needs to go to nursery and play with stones and slides and swings. So how do we balance that? It's utilizing your support network, number one. So if you have friends and family around you that can help with that, that's good. But I would say the biggest support I have is from my company. It's the company that, like I said, puts emphasis on its people and allows for me to say, so yesterday, for example, I actually had to leave at 4:30 to go and pick up my son from football practice, then pick up my other son because my wife was at work driving her career, and that's brilliant. I support her in her career, and she supports me in mine. So she did the drop off this morning, so I'm here talking to you. So I'm really, really grateful for her. But balancing that comes from your support network. Your work is your support network. Your spouse or your partner is your support network. But I think we're very privileged that we can do a lot of this technology where we can actually say, we can do a presentation online. We don't have to, necessarily come into office for the likes. But I put a huge importance on my personal life, because if you don't, it can be the detriment to your mental well-being. Always remember that you're a human being first, and if you have personal problems, you have personal commitments, be open, like you said, with your goal. Like I said, with your goals and your manager, be open with that, the manager. Hey, I've got a little child, would you mind if every Friday I just logged off a little bit early just to go and click? Yeah, it's those places which you get the answer, yeah, that's okay. We care about you as an employee, and we're able to work around that. You're going to get nothing back but loyalty and respect as well. So yeah, I put a lot of importance. Because a few small things. I don't work on weekends. This is just me personally. And when I log off, I log off, and I become dad, or I become brother, or I become friend. And you have to detach from work. You have to detach from work. What actually it does, by detaching, it actually it frees up your brain. So I'm working from home. I may be in the middle of something that I just cannot figure out the solution for. The moment I say, I'm going to go and get a drink downstairs, or I go to the gym, like 11:30, I go to the gym, and I'm at the gym, and I come up with the answer, or I come up with what I was meant to do, and it's become from that detachment. So really place importance on detaching from work, giving 100% at work, but giving 100% in your personal life as well, and making sure you have the support network around you to do that.
Alrighty, thank you. We have 2 more questions. So the next one is from Monica Ianugula. What challenges have you faced as VP of 3 businesses, and how did you overcome them? How do you handle difficult situations?
So some of the biggest challenges I've had overseeing different areas is, I guess, making sure people are motivated. You know, overseeing teams are made up of people. And people have different goals, different agendas. And sometimes there's a promotion opportunity and 2 to 3 people want it. And there was one in my team in commodities. I remember this back at Citi, and there was one assistant vice president promotion going up, and 3 people went for it. And it was really awkward. It was probably one of the biggest challenges. I went 2 were internal to my team and 1 was external to my team, but also within Barclays, obviously. The 2 internal people suddenly started locking horns with each other. That friendship suddenly turned into rivalry. And the person outside the team was on course to be made redundant. So that person, it was within the bank's interest to retain this person. So I had 2 people, 1 man, 1 woman, and another man, all going for the 1 slot, and each having such a good case to go for it. It was emotional. It was emotional. And, you know, ultimately there was very little separating them, which is, again, a very tough decision to make. And you're never going to come out as the good guy. You're just going to come out as the good guy to 1 person and the bad guy to 2 people. So you're going to come out as the bad guy in all of this. And the repercussions of that can be, you know, can be quite bad. So what happened in the end, the only way I could distinguish between the 3 of them was to create a question, like a test, to say who, I can't pick between them from experience. They've all got their own cases, but let me just, so I got the team to put together a test of like 10 questions, just answer them and score them. At least then you have a material differentiator between them. So if you were to go to HR, you can say, look, there was no favoritism. It was as a result of the test. And that's what I did. I did it to sort of protect myself from any sort of implication of favoritism. So one of them got it. He genuinely got it. He was right for the role, but he also answered the test really well and showed his knowledge. The other 2, the other person cried in front of me the moment I told him. And that was really tough. That was really, really tough. How I overcame that, I spent a lot of time with that person, not just immediately, but I continually checked in on that person, and I continually gave them advice on their career, and I continually gave them hope and opportunity, if it's not in my team, another team. But I just let them know that I was still there for them. This is not just a be all and end all. The other person tried to take me to HR to say that I had not operated within the bank's interests because he's being made redundant. Again, I was able to point back at the test and just say, look, I can fully understand that, but the right person must go for the role. It must be the right person ultimately. So again, he wasn't too happy with me, but I spent time with him as well. And I added him to my external profile, and I ended up giving him a job at another company through a contact that I had. That was just pure luck. It just happened to work out, but I'm really happy. So yeah, and that other person who didn't get it, she actually got promoted the year after, because we had another opportunity and I put her forward for it. So everyone sort of got what they wanted at the end of the day, but my God, was that challenging. And I did enjoy that one bit, but it's a learning experience. Like I said, learn from that. So now I know how to handle people in similar situations. Always look out for their emotional well-being and never take for granted how some people will react based on their own personal circumstances, their own journey.
All right, thank you. Last question is from Jyoti. Jyoti, would you like to ask a question now?
Hi, Parvati. Thank you. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I have a question for you, but before that, I would like to thank you for all the motivational words. I wouldn't say motivational, as the title said, inspired talks. It was really inspiring, Ryan. So all your,
Thank you
like
so much.
Parvati and Deepa said, every word you said, it correlates to a good work culture and a good work environment. Thank you for that. And here is my question. In your journey, have you ever come across a set of people who had different, they believe in different set of values, like a bully manager you mentioned in your speech? Can you tell us, how do you tackle them? How do you handle them?
Yeah. So again, very good question. These questions are excellent, by the way. So I run a global team. And in this global team, you've got people from New York, you've got people from London, you've got people from Pune, and you've got people from Singapore. I can tell you there is a massive cultural difference between all four of these people. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So I would say the first thing to do is to know your audience. So for New Yorkers, you have to be direct. And sorry, when I say direct, I don't mean rude or anything like that. I mean, get to the point, because they speak in very short sentences, and they don't like the fluff around it. For people in Singapore, they are super polite. They are so unassuming. They're so intelligent and they have so much information, but they don't feel they can say it. They don't feel empowered to speak up and say it. People in Pune, again, super intelligent, but not in the culture to be direct and be bold and to come in. And then sitting in London, you sort of get a blend of everyone. So your communication style should, I guess, alter or reflect to your audience. So I'm speaking to you all today. I was very conscious not to make it too heavy in certain areas and try to make it as relevant to you guys as possible. Even speaking, I naturally speak a lot faster than this, but I have to slow it down a bit. Apologies if you still don't understand me. But I would say know your audience and understand the most effective way to communicate to them. And their culture, I would say it's probably not personal. It could be a cultural blend that they're bringing in. But by being collaborative and understanding the different aspects in a room is placed to your advantage. And I'm sure you've all been in rooms with people, do you think, how does that you are not on the same page as that person over there? But if you have the goal at the end of that as the focus, what is the goal of this? Because so often conversations can go in tangents. Suddenly someone says something and it goes in another direction and you think, oh my God. But ultimately, what is the goal? From the mailbox example, the goal is to simplify our support model. But the conversation was about memory in the mailbox and crashing. Well, it's fine, we can get through that. But by resisting, are we reaching our goal? What's the goal? What does the client want? And we can bring it forward, but ultimately, if we all have the goal in mind to deliver that goal, it's okay. But collaborative, like being collaborative amongst different personalities, it also builds to your experience. Then you learn how to speak to different people in different situations. So understand your audience, understand their cultural background and where they're coming from, and learn to be collaborative, cooperative, compromise. Compromise is key as well, and have a goal at the center point that you all feed into. If you could be the gel that brings all that together, that's amazing.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
No, thank you. Great question.
Alrighty. Thanks, Ryan. I would like to invite Preeti now for the vote of gratitude.
Thanks, Parvati. Dear reflectors and our most distinguished guest of the day, Mr. RYAN Matthews. I'm Preeti B, Senior Business Analyst at Reflections, and I'm honored to present the vote of thanks today. First and foremost, I would like to express my deepest appreciation to our esteemed guest, Mr. RYAN Matthews. Your presence had made this event truly special, and we are grateful for the valuable insights, discussions, and the networking opportunities that you have shared with us today. Your active engagement and enthusiasm you showed us in bringing some kind of presentation to show us, which was impressive, have added immense value to the occasion. A special note of thanks goes to our dedicated organizing team for organizing this today. They took efforts in planning and executing this event for us. Their hard work, meticulous attention to detail, and unwavering commitment to excellence have made this event a resounding success. We extend our sincere thanks to each and every one of you for your invaluable contribution to the inspired talk today. Your presence, support, and participation have made this event a significant impact, and we are looking forward to continue our journey together for this. Thank you all for joining, and see you all with yet another inspiring talk. Thank you.